Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is having a great day, whether you are 5 hours away or a day away. Remember, I love you. Okay, so I want to talk about a topic that I'm pretty sure I've talked about before, maybe on here. I pretty much talked about it on Twitter and Tumblr, but it is this thing called cancel culture that so many people are talking about. And I believe the term came into effect back in 2017 because originally the term cancel referred to anyone that wanted to cut someone out of their life. It derived from the film New Jack City with Wesley Snipes, who played a gangster named Nino Brown, where he pretty much assaulted a light-skinned black woman because she no longer wanted to be a part of his violent business. And he said, cancel that hoe. And a lot of people found that to be funny. And a lot of people liked that scene because they felt as if like it was basically highlighting a lot of color struck men who finally get rid of light skinned women that they worship to be with a darker skinned woman, because the whole thing started when the woman did not appreciate that he was cheating on her with a dark skinned woman. And it was clear that Nino Brown was a color struck man, and it seemed as if he was using this light-skinned woman as this status symbol. And there was another character, a female character, who was played by Michelle Williams, the dark-skinned actress, before the light-skinned actress, or before Vanessa Williams, one from Miss America, became the actress that we know of today. She was playing like one of their sidekicks, and she ended up getting killed because she was basically used as a human shield trying to protect the men and shooting at them. So it just sort of like reinforced the type of colorism that dark-skinned black women go through, where they're seen as, you know, the human shield, and the light-skinned woman's in the background who's protected. And Nino Brown was also color-struck in the sense that he appeared jealous of light-skinned men, the light-skinned male characters that he exhibited violence and resentment towards, even his best friend, because he clearly had some insecurity issues with his own skin tone. So with his reaction towards his light-skinned girlfriend, it was basically a reflection of him basically being fed up with light-skinned people in general. I don't know why I gave that backstory, but I just felt that it was interesting to talk about. But black people decided to use the term cancel to mean to get rid of someone from your life, or to basically no longer support that person, when we are talking about celebrities that have done something problematic or so flagrant that there is no sense in supporting them. For instance, we cancel R. Kelly. Back in the day, he made good music, but once we found out that he was a rapist and a lot of the allegations came to be true, a lot of us withdrew our support from him. Another example is Chris Brown. When we found out that he was an abuser when he beat up Rihanna, a lot of us canceled him then. More people canceled him later on when we found out that he didn't stop being abusive. He was stalking Karrueche. He was beating up Frank Ocean for being gay. So a lot of people canceled Chris Brown. Another example would be people who may cancel Cardi B or Azealia Banks because they had said something problematic. So basically, cancel just means to withdraw your support from someone because of their doing something bad. But now it seems as if people don't want to be canceled because they feel as if they still have time to grow, even though we gave them plenty of chances to grow and to apologize. But they never seem to change. They keep doing the same things that they did back in 2013. The only difference is that they are now rebranding. And I'm hearing a lot of people talk about cancel culture in a negative sense. Because they feel as if they are a target of it. And I particularly hear people complain about cancel culture who are white, or who are cishet, or who are men, or who are light-skinned or mixed race black people. And that is typically because these are the people who are normally caught saying something offensive about a more oppressed or marginalized group of people. And when it comes to black people who are particularly straight or male or light skin, are always complaining about cancel culture because they know that they are the ones that people can easily dig up tweets of and find them saying something colorist or something misogynistic about Black women or something homophobic about gay people or transphobic about gay people. JT was just released the other day and she released a song, and I guess a few people noticed that she said something about bitches bringing up old shit, and I guess they were talking about old tweets, which a lot of people get JT confused with Young Miami. It wasn't JT saying anything homophobic or colorist or anti-Black about Blue Ivy or disrespectful towards Haitians. That was Young Miami. So I actually do like JT. I'm just not the biggest fan of Young Miami because she said a lot of fucked up shit back in the day. And people feel as if, well, that was a long time ago. It was a joke. She didn't mean it. I don't believe it. You meant that shit. It's just now that you're famous and now that anything you say can be held against you, now you're trying to rebrand as if you didn't mean what you said back then. Because I guarantee you, if it was still socially acceptable to make homophobic jokes, Kevin Hart, or if it was still socially acceptable to be fatphobic or colorist, Cardi B, then you guys would stand in it. You guys would double down instead of this whole, well, I don't mean it now. You find any reason to bring down a nigga. And my thing is, a lot of you guys built platforms off of colorism, off of misogyny war. You made these platforms specifically to put down people that you felt were socially beneath you, and they didn't have the social capital then to basically say, okay, we don't have to support this person, we can withdraw our support from them, and it to have actually have some type of effect that it does today. Because now we're starting to see more gay people have social capital. We're seeing more Black women in particular have social capital. We're even starting to see more visibility with dark-skinned Black women in the media. So now when someone says something colorist, it's no longer ha ha ha, it's just jokes. It's like, oh my God, you can't say that. That's wrong. You're a terrible person. So people no longer want to support that person. With Maya Jama, when it was found out that she said something colorist back in 2013 about dark-skinned women and she was laughing at jokes about them, people were like, okay, we need to cancel her. And some people were like, oh, well, why not? She seems like a nice person. She's so funny. But that's just the attitude that a lot of light-skinned people have, especially biracial people who pretty much were taught to kind of look down on Black people that were darker or that didn't have any direct mixed ancestry, or Black people that just appear to be more visibly Black, whether they have broader nose or fuller lips or darker skin or kinkier hair. People like Maya Jama or Stefflon Don or Cardi B were clearly brought up in a household to think that way. And now that they realize that most of their support comes from the very people that they put down, they're rebranding, not because they feel bad for what they said, but because they realize that they have to play nice in order to get ahead instead of just talking down to people and barring people from their spaces just so they can get ahead. Because you know, we have paperback tests where dark-skinned women and men couldn't be admitted into clubs or social circles or fraternities, sororities, or churches, institutions. Of course, we have a homophobic society where a lot of gay Black men and gay women who don't necessarily fit a cis normative standard of beauty are often barred from the media. When it comes to making music, a lot of times we don't really support them as much as we should because of their sexuality, or because we feel like we don't relate to them because they don't sing for a cis het normative perspective. You know, I'm not straight, but I noticed that when it comes to singers like Asian, her name is spelled Asiahn, or Young Miami, lesbian, on Young Miami, Young Ma, who are both lesbians, they make good music, but it's like a lot of people feel as if they can't relate because they make music from like a lesbian perspective, and a lot of people can't feel that because they're not singing to men, they're not singing for men. We have people like Summer Walker and SZA who are bisexual women, but they still sang to the perspective of men. And we do have Kalani, who did sing to a perspective of a woman, but I kind of feel like Kalani's a little bit performative, so I don't really care about Kalani right now. But as I said with this whole thing with cancel culture, I don't understand why people have a problem with it, just because y'all used to bar the hell out of Black people that did not fit your cis normative standards, or your light skin supremacy of like being light skinned or being half white or having like loose curls, stuff like that, like the hair that I have now, but y'all know it's not real hair. But I actually get more hits with this type of hair, and it's not even like real hair, and you can tell. But I don't know, people are stupid. But y'all had no problem canceling the gay people. Y'all had no problem canceling the dark-skinned people. But now when the gay people and the dark-skinned people want to cancel you because they are now having more social capital, talking about pro-blackness, talking about racism and police brutality and colorism and homophobia and transphobia combined, and getting platform and clap off of that, now y'all want to sit up here and act as if that you were with us all this time, and you know, you were just being a fool and you're growing. I don't like that at all. And I talked about this with Joe Budden and Charlamagne, who made a platform off of disrespecting dark-skinned Black women, disrespecting fat Black women. I remember Charlamagne talking about Gabby Sidibe all the time, saying that she was fat and ugly. You know, he was interviewing Janae Aiko, and he said to Janae, you know, people wouldn't assume that a man with Gabby Sidibe is dating her. And Janae was kind of like uncomfortable, which I don't know why she just laughed, kind of like, hee. I would have said something. Like, I don't understand why y'all bitches be so complicit. I would have said something, and that's why people don't fuck with me, because I say some shit. If you want to disrespect another woman to me, I'm gonna say something, because I wouldn't like it if somebody said some shit about me and nobody came to my defense. So I'm gonna do to others as you would like them to do to you. That's basically my motto. But I mean, I'm not gonna really hold that against her. But Charlamagne made a platform off of kind of gaslighting dark-skinned Black women, or saying that dark-skinned Black women were jealous of light-skinned women, and basically giving platforms to non-Black women or Black women like Angela Yee, who appear to be non-Black, but she is, I believe, West Indian and Chinese. I believe that she is multiracial, but she is a Black woman. And from my perspective, I actually do like Angela Yee a lot better than Charlamagne and DJ Envy. I do like her perspective. I just don't really like how when they say something problematic, she tries to like call them out and say, hey, that's not cool. But I just feel like if she were to have her own show, it would just be a lot better, because I think that these men are holding her back. So I actually do like Angela Yee. I just don't really like how she kind of supports Charlamagne, who is a rapist, who actually raped a 16-year-old girl and admitted to raping his wife when he first met her. Joe Budden beat a baby out of a woman, beat her into a miscarriage. But yet these men are rebranding as these great men that do things for the community. The same thing with Lil Duval, who apparently has a platform with the LGBT, the show Pose, that is about drag queens and trans women and men putting on a show together and talking about their experience with transphobia and homophobia. And Lil Duval said something bad about it. He wanted to kill a trans woman if she lied to him about formerly being a man. You know, nobody was ever a man, but those were his words. And he has a hit song, Living My Best Life, and he actually went to #1 on the rap and hip hop charts. But yet we're complaining about cancel culture because people are holding you accountable. With Cardi B, Cardi B said a lot of colorist shit, you know, not even like back in the day. This was as recent as 2017. And I was one of the few people to like really call that out. And people were saying, oh, well, she's poor, and, you know, she's Afro-Latina, and she grew up in the hood, and she doesn't really know any better. Like, just playing up this sob story of being like this poor sex worker who doesn't know any better, like there aren't poor dark-skinned sex workers who've gone through colorism or dealt with people like Cardi B in their lives. It's not like, Cardi B is the only one to have gone through that, but people often use that story to basically excuse the comments she makes towards women who criticize her or may talk about her. I'm not saying that you should be attacking someone like Cardi B and to be cyberbullying her or to saying something classist. But when it comes to Cardi B, it's like people give her passes that they wouldn't give anyone else. So I don't like this complaining about cancel culture, because it's usually Black people who do have privilege complaining about no longer having the platform that they started, because now people are waking up and realizing that we don't have to support them. We don't have to support a colorist. We don't have to support someone that calls Black women disgusting or compare Black women to apes and gorillas. We don't have to support someone who calls dark-skinned women roaches. We don't have to support a man who says the F slur. We don't have to support anyone. Cancel culture is essentially boycotting towards bigots that disrespect oppressed groups of people, and they have a high platform to do so. And people are now saying, well, I'm tired of cancel culture just because they fit into a group of people that are likely to be canceled off of comments that they said. I mean, I always hear my light skin or some of my mixed friends complain about it. And it's like, that's because if I were to look up your tweets, you said something about mixed people being prettier back in 2013, or you said something how you could never date a dark-skinned bitch, or you said something about dark-skinned men back in 2015. That's why you don't like it, because you know that if I were to look up your tweets, which I have to certain people, you know that I will find a lot of shit that you said. That's why you don't like it. Am I saying I'm perfect? No, I've said some things, but the thing is, y'all want to act as if y'all were always with us. Y'all were always with the movement, and you weren't. T.I., when it came to Azealia Banks and Iggy Azalea, Azealia didn't like Iggy. Azealia peeped that Iggy was a culture vulture. A lot of us liked Iggy. I used to love Iggy, but not anymore. But Azealia said something about Iggy and her Runaway Slave Master line. And here comes T.I. to the rescue playing Captain Save a White Woman. And all of a sudden now, because people turned on Iggy and she's no longer hot that she was back in 2014, now he's saying that I'm trying to undo the damage that Iggy Azalea has caused to my career. And some of Iggy Azalea fans have dragged T.I. and said, well, your biggest hit is No Mediocre featuring Iggy Azalea. Okay? And your other biggest hit is Rihanna. So y'all want to throw shade at these women that you clearly only hired because of their looks and because they were white. But yet, y'all don't want to admit that, right? Y'all don't want to admit that you, a Black man, are part of the problem of promoting beauty standards and hiring women because they are white and because of their looks. So then Black women like me can complain about like beauty standards and how racist they are and how it affects us in our daily lives, for you to say, oh, we're just insecure, we're getting weaves and makeup, it's our fault, when you did exactly those things that we're talking about, but you're trying to make it like, oh, it's not my fault, I made a mistake. But instead of saying like you were wrong, and for you to not even apologize to Azealia, it just shows that it's performative. You're just trying to save face. You're now putting on this real brand of this woke Black man in the suit trying to better the community after you've been caught saying a lot of disparaging things towards Black women, in particular Azealia Banks. Azealia Banks is not a perfect Azealia Banks is not a perfect person by any stretch of the imagination, but T.I. is also wrong for saying all these things about Azealia, gaslighting Black women that called out Iggy back in 2014, and is now using this platform to say, well, I made a mistake. Matthew Knowles as well. Black women called out Matthew Knowles for putting Beyonce at the forefront because she was the pretty light-skinned girl with the blonde hair, and he was trying to act like, oh, it's not a big deal, my daughter's more talented. Now, last year, he's talking about how, oh, well, colorism is the reason my daughter is famous just because Beyonce cut him off. And now people think that what he's saying is so wise and smart, when Black women have been saying that for years. Dark-skinned Black women have been saying this for years. But you let somebody of privilege say the same thing, Even though a few years ago they were gaslighting the very people that were talking about it, now it's wonderful, you know, it's so enlightening. I don't believe it. I don't. Like I said, this video took longer than what I intended to, but cancel culture is not real. It's just a bunch of whiny ass brats who don't want to be held accountable. Okay? And that's all there needs to be said.